Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Unfiltered.
Yes.
And today we have a couple of really great gals with us. Yeah.
Some girlies.
We are doing a nice little episode with a couple of friends over here. We've got Esther on the side.
Yeah.
Where are you from, Esther?
So I'm from Germany.
Oh.
Yes.
And how old are you?
I'm 25 years old.
Nice.
Yeah.
And this is Nicole.
Yeah, I'm from the States, and I'm 22.
Way. And this is Flo.
Oh, hi. It's me again. And this is Julie.
And this is Julie, exactly. Yeah. In case you were wondering or you forgot, this is us. So welcome everybody for another episode of Unfiltered. And we have a special one, I think, today. I mean, I think we might say that every single time, but it gets more and more special. I think
Every
that's
time.
what it is.
Such a
And
blessing.
Yeah, exactly. And the more also that we go deeper, I think we also end up thinking about new and more exciting topics to talk about as well. And that's why we brought both of you here, because today we're talking about something that you both are very passionate about, which is...
Oh. Come on.
Sorry, the suspense. You probably didn't hear any of that, but yeah. Anyways, we're going to talk about modesty and fashion. Especially, I think this topic is relevant for us as Christians, for sure. Yeah. But I think it's something that there's a lot of different stigmas around and a lot of different things that perhaps we feel like we have to live by, or even like it's so different according to where we come from as well. And so I think it varies so much. So I think it's something to like really deep dive in, but it's definitely going to be something that we're all going to bring different elements to the table. So yeah, does that sound cool?
Sounds amazing.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
So the first question is, what is it you enjoy about fashion? What is it that when you think about fashion, like what is it that perhaps like makes your heart skip a little bit, you know? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know who wants to go first.
Yeah. Well, I can go first.
Sure.
So what I personally love about fashion is just like the way that you can express yourself. I think that's why like I also kind of got into like fashion more because as well, even growing up, it was always like something that was as well like important to my family, like because my family, my parents are from Congo, and like in Congolese culture, like this is as well like a way that you really like make yourself like known. And like I remember like days where we, for example, just went to like a church service, and then my parents, they always encouraged me wear nice clothes because we're also going to present ourselves to people, you know, like people will see us. So that's why even like just going to a church service or like to visit like friends or relative, it was as well like a way that you feel like, oh, people dress like as well like with these like fancy like hair band-aids, like in a way of like we are going to a wedding. So it was like always like as well like an importance in my family, and I think they also imparted that into like me. So as well like just a way of like expression of where you're coming from and like your culture as well, you know, and as well what you love.
That's cool. What about you?
No, I think fashion is like it's not a topic I'm super passionate about, but it's something that I've grown a lot here, especially in Europe. It's like so important. At least in South America, everyone just follows trends, and like they're like, oh, everyone's wearing Vans, so I'm gonna wear Vans. You know? I think when I came here, like it was the first time that I was like, oh, I can experience fashion on my own, you know, because I always had my sisters like that I always wear like her stuff, you know, like what they like, I also like, you know, so I never had like my own thing. So I think about fashion, it's just like discovering also what you like, what you feel comfortable with. I think it also expresses a lot, as you were saying. But I think we also put a lot of identity in how we dress. And there's like, that's always my fear, that like, it just, how I dress is how people are going to see me. You know, that's like, I don't know, in some ways I'm always so scared, because if one day I'm not dressing well, it's like, oh, this person today is messy, or like she's not feeling well today. It's like, I just don't want to put an effort today, you know, like I just don't have the energy today, or like a free day, you know. It's like, oh, when you super dress out, you're like, oh, you're going out. It's like, oh, I just like put a little effort today.
My biggest pet peeve.
It's like, wow, you smell nice, or like, and I'm like, I just put an effort today. Don't say anything about it. But I think it's like so beautiful as well. Like, I was sharing with someone today that I feel like it's so beautiful how, like, as well, there's so many, you can not only follow one trend, you know, like you can find different ways of like dress up and mix different things, to a point that today I feel like there's some things that I'm like, I don't know how people can wear that, because I would never. But I don't know, I feel like fashion, like what I enjoy is like seeing other people as well, like enjoying themselves, how they dress. Like I see both of you, or like even Julie sometimes, oh my goodness, microphone. Like I enjoy people that can be brave enough to like wear things that I would never wear. So
Nicole?
Yeah, for me, I love the aspect that you can be really creative with your clothes, with what you wear. When I was younger, I loved to match like a yellow belt with like a yellow headband or something like that, like to just try something new. Or even, I don't know if you remember, but there was like a trend on YouTube where you could like cut your clothes in certain ways. So I would like always cut my tank tops in certain ways. And
I'm sorry, what? What was this? A trend on YouTube? On YouTube.
So many beauty gurus that would post these videos about like how to cut your tank tops in like 19 different ways. Okay. And I was like, wow, that's amazing. So I always did that. And was it the best choice? No. But at least I got to be creative, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
So I really like that you can, I don't know, like it can be really an art form if you make it. And you can see as well as someone's like personality through what they wear, you know, if they have a lot of color or a lot of accessories, you can really tell a lot by what a person wears. So I really like that you can, like that it's really an art form. For me, it was something that I expressed my personality a lot through as a kid and growing up, and even coming up with my own designs as well. Like I always wanted to do something even more colorful, or I don't know, really young, even more glittery or something like that, you know. But I really enjoyed that about fashion. So
that's cool. I'd say for me, I really like how it's kind of interesting, because I don't think it's something where you should find your identity in. But I really do love how much transformation to a person's self-esteem, emotions, day, even like journey in with God, with people, like can happen through fashion, you know. And I know it's so small, you know, but even like what you were talking about with the aspect of culture, you know, like I remember once I went to an Indian wedding and I got to wear a sari. It was the first and probably last time I've ever worn a sari. But there was something so special about that, you know, being able to wear like traditional clothing that also like made other people really happy that I was also being a part of their culture, brought them joy, but also like it elevated my joy as well, you know. Exactly. So I think one of my favorite things about fashion is how it can really just be healing and transformational in many ways. And I think that is a tool for us to use definitely when it comes to Kingdom. I don't know. I don't know that I'd say that I'm the most fashionable person because I really am not. But I do like to, like what you were saying, you know, be creative or express myself with it, you know. I think the older I've gotten, the more like just like when I find something that I like, I buy it in 3 different colors so I don't have to go back to buy it again, you know. I know this might be too much information, but hey, keeping it unfiltered, you know.
Always.
I know my size in my underwear. I go to the same store for like the last 10, maybe 12, maybe more years. I buy the same color, the same type, like there's nothing fresh, you know. It's just like it's comfortable, it's what I like, it's what I know, and I use it and I'm happy with it, you know. I struggle to like really branch out with some things, especially like really flashy or you know, crazy things. But I do sometimes. There's just not an always type of thing, you know. Like I don't know, like, and that's also, like, we were talking a little bit about, like, oh, like when we're, you know, not in the mood to dress up and we're living together, whatever. But one of the things about living in community is that everybody knows your wardrobe, because you have to, like, recycle through it, right? So, like, today, for example, I put this shirt on, which is, like, it's actually, like, from Primark. Shout out to Primark. But it was my mum's, you know, like, so nothing special. But I don't wear it all the time because I don't feel comfortable in it. You know, it's not like because it's fancy, because actually I don't feel like it is. But as soon as I put it on, everybody was like, wow, where are you going today? Oh my gosh, you know? And it's just like, okay, like, I didn't know I looked that bad every other moment. But
everyone making a comment.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody makes a comment. But it's cool. It's cool at the same time. I think also sometimes we, like, don't say anything at all. So but we need a balance. So
true. Yeah. No,
so next question is, as Christians, obviously, I think we all know that we have been called to be light and be salt, you know, to be in this world but not of this world. But how do we tackle, how do we go about, like, being Christians, staying relevant, following trends in a sense, but at the same time not being so, like, in the deep of it, you know? I don't know if that, like, you know what I mean? Like, how do you deal with that? Or do you find that that's an issue? I don't know.
I think in different ways. Sorry, I don't know if who was going, but
Go for it.
Take it away.
For me, like, growing also in a different culture, like, and a really Christian family, like, my parents were very strict in the way that we dress and how, especially when you go to church or, like, special, like, places, like, they were very strict about how you dress. Also, I'm the third out of, like, the third girl. So, like, with me, they were a bit, like, lighter in some ways, but for me, always, like, I had to be, like, very careful and very, like, protective of the way that I dress, and, like, maybe don't expose too much. And I'm not saying that I was, like, wearing, like, the most crazy things, you know, like, I was showing everything. For me, it was just like, oh wow, I'm showing my arms. I don't know, one example. And I remember having, like, fights, because it was also when I was a teenager, I was trying to like, discover, like, how the things that I like, and discover, like, different things. And I wasn't a Christian, but my parents were in that moment. So, like, they were very strict, and they, like, will have fights because the way that I dress, you know. And I was like, I'm not even, like, showing anything. I'm just like wearing something that's different for them. And I think with time, like, my mom, like, was able to understand more, and, like, they were more open. But my grandma, for example, was another story. She was, like, very strict, and also she's Catholic, so, like, she's very, like, the way you dress is the way you present yourself and stuff. And for me, it was, like, very hard, because it was, like, I want to honor them, but also, like, there's nothing wrong with, like, wearing a skirt on a different day, or like wearing something that's, like, a bit more, like, there's always the modesty that we're, like, gonna talk about it, and how you, like, present yourself as well, and, like, what you want to show through that, you know. So I think as Christians, like, there's always that balance of, like, how much, like, there's also healthy and, like, limits and boundaries. And I think for me it was, like, very, like, hard to find that balance, especially because when you want to be rebellious and stuff, it's like, what can I do? What can I know? Where can I push the limits and stuff? Like, how much you can do without someone saying something, you know? Especially when it comes to men. Like, as a woman, like, dressing up, like, for a man or stuff like that. Like I was saying to someone, like, it's so uncomfortable for me when I walk on the street and I see, like, someone dressed and I'm like, they're showing everything. I'm like, I don't feel comfortable around that. But I'm a Christian, and, like, I'm called to love them either way, you know? So I think there's, like, that element of, like, I don't know. It's like a mix of things as well. Like, I haven't, like, figured out well.
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of discernment, you know, because I think there are certain trends that you see that may look really cool, but maybe they don't really call your attention or really honor God or the people around you. And for me, like, I didn't necessarily always branch out in different ways with trends that maybe showed a bit more skin or whatnot. Like, I think growing up, I wasn't so comfortable with my body. So I really almost, like, stayed on the safe side of things and always tried to, like, cover up most things. And, like, for me, like, I love fall and winter fashion, you know, because you can always layer.
Autumn, for those of us who are from the UK.
It's true. It's autumn.
Just saying.
And I almost like always stayed on that side of things, you know? And also this was the way I grew up, because I was also taught that maybe showing too much skin might, you know, like not be the best for those around you as well, or to protect also yourself, you know, in a sense. So I really didn't kind of like experiment with that kind of thing as well, because I don't know, I just was so scared to break the rules.
But it's interesting that you're mentioning also about safety, because I think that's a huge also thing, especially around women, you know, and I don't know, especially as Latin women, you know, like there's always this thing of like, you know, the violence that's immediately like on men, you know, like this will produce men to be violent, you know, which I think it's also like really interesting that like that's already like a label, you know, but it's also a very true reality, you know. So but
no, I definitely agree. And so that's like I was really aware of those things as well. So I didn't also want to like wear something that, one, I didn't feel comfortable in, but also two, that like maybe would draw some attention that I didn't want, you know. But for sure also there are just like trends that are just a bit ridiculous out there that I'm just like obviously no, you know, I'm just not gonna I'm just not gonna go there, you know. And as well as you mentioned, like as Christians we are called to be different, you know. We don't have to follow every trend, and also we can make clothes, we can make fashion like something that can really honor God still. It can really like bring glory to God, and that can also really like bless each other in some way. But yeah, for me it's just about kind of having that discernment, and like you, I'm still learning that every day.
For sure.
For sure. Yeah, I think fashion was always like or still a journey for me. And one time like a teacher even said, and that was for me mind blowing, I never saw that aspect in the Bible, that actually the first time where the fashion industry started was like, you know, after Adam and Eve like sinned. There where it actually like started, you know, that was like the starting point. Because then like, you know, like they were naked and they realized and they noticed, you know,
they had the need for clothing.
Yeah, exactly. There was like the need for clothing, you know. So and then like they took leaves, you know, and like created their own like clothes, you know, like, and that was the start for us, you know, like to start like wearing like clothes. So like for me, like even seeing that aspect, you know, it's as well like a way of it, covering like us as well, you know, like, and as well like just the importance of like as well seeing, okay, what is like the best way, you know, for us, again, what you also said, to honor God and also ourselves and others around us. I think sometimes we can be quite like selfish, you know, in a way, like, but I like it, you know, like, and I don't think that this is like showing too much like décolleté or like, you know, just my chest cut off in a way. But as well, like to just like see, okay, I also want to honor my own body, you know, and those around me that like as well see me. So to be honest, like for me in the beginning, because similar to you, especially my mom was really after me, like, Esther, this is too short, you cannot wear that. But I was so rebellious, I'm just like, I don't care, I will still go to school like that. You know. and I didn't listen to the advice, you know. I think so many times like friends, they want to help us actually, or like our parents, you know, because they see something that we don't see, you know, like, and sometimes like we then choose to not obey, and then we put ourselves in risk, you know. So, and as well for me, it was social media became something very important in my teenage years, YouTube and like Instagram, and always being up to date, you know? If I wasn't up to date, I felt like lost. I felt I don't belong to this world. So it was like really like an extreme, like for me, like I always like had the need as well to go shopping, like after school, like almost every third day. Like my wardrobe like was so large at some point where I just like I couldn't handle it anymore, you know. And it became so much, what do I wear now, you know, like every single day I think like, or like the night, you know, like what can I wear, you know, that I also can like call attention to myself, you know, like. And I really like need to be like careful with that. Like for sure I grew now out of that, especially when I gave my life to God.
Yeah.
Because he really like brought light into that, you know, like
Yeah.
why do I actually like, I'm so fanatic over like fashion and like clothes, you know. So, and he also brought this aspect of like I never really felt like safe, you know, so I feel like covering up, you know, or even going to the extreme, just wearing like when I go to parties to like brace like lace bras,
Yeah.
you know, like, and I was
Yeah.
just like, just as well, because I felt I never really got the intention, you know. I want like people to affirm me, and that's
Yeah.
the way how I can get it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot to it.
Yeah, I was actually, well, I mean, I've also really struggled a lot with my image and my body. Obviously, if you can't tell, like I'm a bit curvier naturally, but also, you know, I'm, I guess, not your smallest size. And there's an aspect also when it comes to fashion where like, especially in the early 2000s, it was like a one size fits all, you know, stigma, which actually that was never the case. But like there is a reality where things fit very differently because your body is just not the same. You know, things don't fit the same. Whether it's because you're very curvy or lumptious, or because you're very tall or you're very short, in my case, you know. It's funny, like with Maddie, we have this issue all the time, and I'm like, can I borrow that, or can I, you know, can I have that, you know? And she wears it, and it's like a tank top on her. I wear it, and it's like a full-on dress on me, you know. But it happens because you know our bodies are different, you know. And I think it was, I think I always really struggled because you know you have this trend, and you kind of want to not be on the outside. You kind of want to be in the inside of the trend, but at the same time, like, it might not be church appropriate, you know, because of the fact that, like, I don't know, it's too tight on me. And so therefore it accentuates my natural curves, which are actually like too much for the church to handle, you know. But like for somebody else who perhaps is a bit more flat, you know, they can wear it and it's fine, you know, and it's not really going to draw a lot of attention. And I think it's really important for, I think we don't talk about this a lot in church, especially, like the fact that not only there are different bodies, but that we have to also respect the reality that there is also, in the same way that there is different body types, there's also different, I guess, not sins, but also lures, like distractions for certain eyes as well that are different, you know. Some people like are a lot more attracted to somebody who's a lot more flat. And some people like, but I think the world has also pumped us with this idea for such a long time as well about big butts and big boobs. And so it's something also that we, whether we want to ignore it, it's something we can't. We have to be aware of it. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, whatever way you want to think about it. But like there are things I can't wear because I am a bit more curvy in other areas. This is maybe too much information, but like it's actually getting real, you know. It's also being genuine. Like I think also the question for us as Christians to ask, especially when it comes to modesty, is would I change how I'm dressing if I'm hanging out with a different crowd? You know, because for example, I have clothes in my wardrobe where I'm like, I can't wear that for this occasion, but I could wear it for this occasion. That's fine. You know, it's a different time, it's a different occasion, it's a different place. You know, you're not going to wear a wedding dress to church on a Sunday. It makes sense. You know, go to like Sunday school and, you know, come in with a gown. It's not going to happen. But would you wear that in a church? And would it be okay for you to do that? Or is it like a no, you know? And I think that's kind of where the modesty should actually lie, in the integrity of my heart, really. Not necessarily in how much cleavage I'm showing, because I think people are also kind of really muted. Like we're all kind of, we've been fed either intentionally or unintentionally through music, especially music videos back in the day, through movies, through TV shows, through whatever, through fast fashion. Everybody's always exposed, like on a bus, whatever, whether you want it or unintentionally, you're seeing bodies exposed everywhere, you know. So when it comes to modesty for us as Christians, I really think it's all about the integrity of your heart
Yeah.
when, not just in the moment that you're dressing, but in your whole life. And if it reflects, you know, I
Exactly.
think I can really tell a lot about somebody's character when it comes to their relationship with God. When I see them at an event where we weren't supposed to see each other, if you know what I mean. And then suddenly, like, they're dressed and they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you were going to be here," you know. And they're like,
so many
covering,
moments like that.
you know? Yeah.
Before Christ, I was just like, ooh.
I mean, like, again, at the same time, I don't want to judge in the way of like,
No.
you're condemned. No,
For
but
sure.
I think we first of all, we ought to be different. Again, we're called to be in this world, but not of this world.
Yeah.
But at the same time, also, like, if you don't have that conviction and you're a Christian, then that's okay.
Yeah.
But I think the importance is integrity. So I had a friend who, like, was a Christian for some years, but they didn't really have discipleship, you know? So they still kind of dressed in the same way.
Oh, yeah.
And they, you know, they continued to do a lot of the makeup trends. They looked like they had Botox. Maybe they did, you know, like all these different things, you know. But then a few years after, and now she's an evangelist and she's amazing, she still has a lot of like similar trends and fashions, but her modesty level has gone radically different, you know.
Yeah.
Why? Because also she also went through that refinement, but she wasn't living a double life, you know, where like it was one thing here and one thing there. It was just a progression, you know. It was a building up in some sort, like in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
So I think that's, for me, like, modesty, yes, it's so important.
Yeah.
For sure. But I think, yes, we are to be modest in church, but I think it's about, like, actually that integrity, because it means nothing otherwise. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like always goes as well, like, to go to extremes, you know, like maybe you like one day like make Jesus, you're like, I have to cover everything, you know, and they go to the other extreme and you're like, but that's not the point. I mean, if you feel convicted and you have like that in your heart, like, go for it. But some people, like, as you were saying, your friend is like, she didn't have the discipleship, or like she had to had a conviction with some time to get to that point, and to get to that, wow, like, I have that modesty because I want to also honor God. And I think God also gave us that passion of fashion to like also have it, you know. I don't think it's something like, oh, just have it on the side and not work with it, but actually to bring also freedom in that area that has been, as you were saying, like so close for so long, and we don't talk about it because it's like, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
You know, we don't talk about Bruno. But yeah, I think it's so important, like the extreme as well, where you go.
Yeah, so true.
I think my question now would be, like, when it comes to modesty for you guys, not only what is it, what's important to you, but more specifically, like, do you, especially as missionaries, because we are also called to go to the world as well, and you know, we're in Europe right now, we're in London, and there's a lot of things that are acceptable, you know. Yes, again, the Christian aspect, but there is also a lot of things that are culturally acceptable. But you know, you hit another nation, and there are some things that you have to, you know, maybe either change or like kind of get accustomed to. So I guess my question is more like, how do you stay true to yourself? How do you stay true to the modesty? How do you uphold the values that you feel applicable to you? And how do you relate that also externally with others as it changes, depending on where you are? Maybe that was too much, but do you get what I mean?
Yeah. I get what you mean.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, like one aspect for me, I think it really became important is the fact on like honoring, you know, the place that I go to. I think we live in such a cultural moment where it's all about me. You know, what I want to consume, you know, like, and so like self-centered, and we don't really care about like our neighbor, you know. But like just like the value of like love your neighbor like as yourself, you know, like, and as well you want to be received by them as well, you know, like, and like not in a way like, you know, we can talk about like fitting in, you know, like, but I really want to show them that I love you. So that's why.
You okay there?
I'm so sorry. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's very unfiltered.
Super unfiltered.
No worry.
There was a can of
We need a
Coke,
bit of
if
laughter.
anybody didn't know, and it just fell on the floor.
So embarrassing. I told you it was very.
Yeah. So yeah, and as well, like for me, then like just to see, like, okay, if I sit with them like in a living room like space, you know, like I also want them to feel like that they can welcome me as well into like their home, you know, like, and yeah, I really wanted to see how that can also like be more like impacting like people's life, you know, like that aspect of like, okay, where am I? Like, you know, where am I going? And as well to then say like, okay, I'm not just taking it, oh, I need to, like, it's a chore, you know, like I need to present myself, no, like that, you know, but still like being real, you know, but and still seeing like, okay, how can I include that aspect that they love, you know, like maybe I can even put a bit more effort, you know, if I know, like, for example, you went to this Indian wedding, you know, just like, oh, you don't necessarily need to buy, you know, like there's so many ways that you can ask friends, like, oh, do you have like, you know, something from the Indian culture that I can use, you know, like, and take with them, because that's as well what they will see, like, wow, she really like put effort as well, you know, like to as well be, to wanting to embrace my culture and where I'm coming from. So yeah, I think that as well. I remember one time we went to the Philippines and it wasn't like in a rural place, and it wasn't well seen for guys to have long hair, for example. Right. And we had someone, and it was during my outreach, during my discipleship outreach, and yeah, and then he needed to wear like a cap the whole time, for example, you know. So it was as well like in a way of like him like learning, okay, that's, you know, what they don't like to see, but I really want to respect them as well. And so, and as well, there was another girl who had like tattoos, so she needed like as well to wear long sleeves.
That's my issue.
So that's why as well, because I know like I never like been to Congo. It's a dream. Please take me there soon. So, and I know that as well for my family, it's a way like for you to put a stamp that you belong to the world, you know. I know like it's kind of like an extreme, but as well like that's why I really think like, should I really get tattoos or like a piercing, you know, because then I was just like, I really also want them to like receive me well. So yeah, just like, you know, I think it's definitely like a tension that you need to like work on it to just like see, okay, what can I do about it?
Yeah, I think for me, what you said earlier about this woman like is so important, because I think if you're not walking in this conviction or even a revelation of what modesty means to you, then it can be something really unhealthy for you. You know, it can become very legalistic, where you're covering and you have to wear things that cover you because, I don't know, there's a lot of shame that you carry in some way. Or it can be the opposite, where you're showing everything, but in a sense there's still shame that you carry, you know, or there's still kind of like this need to follow regulations or rules in some way. So I think for me, it's so important to like have that conviction and walk in it, to have that revelation, or to even ask God, okay, like, what do you want to say about what I'm wearing, you know? Because I think he can really speak a lot to the community that you're in, the people you're surrounded by, the cultures that you come in contact with as well. Like what you were saying, like, for sure, if I'm around a culture that maybe dresses a bit differently or believes differently, like I also want to honor them. I also want to be able to, I don't know, relate to them in some way that can really respect them, you know, that can really also give this opportunity for us to like, for doors to open and for it not to be weird, you know, because I think also sometimes the way you dress, you know, can be like a lot of people can judge just by looking at you, or if you're looking a bit crazy, you know, people might be like, okay, maybe not, you know, I don't.
There'd be people going crazy. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I think also you can dress in a way that's inviting, you know, or that can, you can like dress in a way that can really like honor people, as we, you know, we're talking about, or start even conversations about, you know, like, oh, you know, cute shirt, right?
Yeah,
Or
that's so true.
that kind of thing. I think I really love that aspect even about clothes, how you can just start off a conversation just by like liking someone's shirt or trousers or shoes, and that can really even dive into deeper conversations or
So true.
I don't know, or even just fun little conversations, you know. But I think for me it's so important that like somebody really has this deep conviction about modesty, and it's not just like, oh, like I do modesty because of this or that, or even if it's something that they read in the Bible, that's amazing, but I really hope that it's something that God has been speaking to them about, or even me, like that's something that God continues to speak to me about. So I think for me, like, to answer your question, this is to answer your question, this is what I think.
I also, just one thing that I wanted to add. I think it's also so important to really ask God, you know, and to bring God into that, you know. Like we say we have a relationship with God, you know, like talk with God about it, you know, as well consult with others, you know, like
that's
take
good.
in advice, you know, like we are not supposed to live independence, you know, even the world tells us, but no, we are called to live interdependence. We have each other, you know, we have God's voice to bring in all of that, really to say that I want to bring God into the center, not me. It's not about me, you know.
I think it's also important because when we have our food bank, for example, and we have in contact with so many people that like they maybe don't know God physically, or like they don't really know him, I have to like act and dress in a different way, because we have a lot of, as women as well, like we have so many like men, and they will make comments and they will say things, and sometimes are not like the best. And I have heard so many times, like when there's a woman that's passing by and then she's wearing like super short and like tight things, and like they make comments in front of me about how they look like. And for me, like as a woman, I feel like it's so ugly and so disgusting and so like I don't know the word, but it makes you feel like not less, but it makes you feel like you're like an object, you know. And like it's just like because of how she was dressed, like that man had like their eyes on that woman, and I was like oh. And so like because we work with them and we want to bless them and we want to love them, like it's not that I look horrible, but I have to like dress less in some ways, like not putting so much effort in how I look like, especially because they make a lot of comments, and I don't want to create anything in them that they will see that they also have that space to make comments or stuff. Or like even when I dyed my hair once, my hair was like purple, and they were making comments, oh, you look beautiful and stuff like that, and I was like, this is not the space to do that, you know. Like I'm like grateful that they're saying it, and I want to think that they have a good heart. But I know deep inside of them, deep down inside of them, here we go, this is my classic moment. They do want to be nice and want to like compliment, but it's so what's the word, like it's so contaminated the way that people see each other, especially through clothing or how you dress, that like you also have to be careful where you go as well, you know, especially when you work with them. Like one day we're just wearing like flip-flops and they were like making comments about our feet, and I was like, like you had to make a comment about everything. So like because you want to love them, you like cover again, you know, or like you make an effort to like, okay, let's talk about something else, and like maybe we'll talk about the weather again, and like we'll make these comments. But it's better to like move out of the way that you look like for them to see God through that, you know, because we're not out there to like show how we dress and how amazing we're missionaries and stuff. We're there to show Jesus, you know, and that if that means that I need to like look less in some ways, like I have to, you know.
It's so true.
So I think it's important
because as well we consume with our eyes, you know, what we see, you know, and then it's kind of like as well something where we need to be careful, you know, like because we don't want to, temptation will come, you know, but it's just like, okay, what do I do with that, you know, like do I let it like really take roots, you know, like and do I give in to that, you know? It's just like we don't want to.
And we are supposed to also really not just be here and not be a part of here, but we're also supposed to change the trajectory. We're also supposed to be influencers without the connotation that influencers have today. But we're supposed to be influencers in a way in which brings kingdom, you know. And I think final thing I'll say, especially to like, I think also as a challenge for people who are listening as well, that I was really reminded of when we were talking about not just how we dress, but and in our patience with other people, is also like to not forget that we also have stigmas and these ideas of what fashion or like what modesty means. As the church, and many times we are the first to judge, we're the first to condemn, we're the first to look upon the world and say and label things, when actually when Jesus was here, he went to the prostitute, you know, and he didn't go according to the Bible and went and shamed her, but instead went and loved her. Exactly. And I don't know how she was dressed. Obviously, we're talking about 2,000 years ago, so modesty looked way different than what it does today. Yeah. But at the same time, we are called to bring change, but also to be the change. And being that change also starts by not judging, by really like going against that trend in a sense, you know. So I guess for me, that's kind of like my final thought. But I just really wanted, like, I don't know, I just wanted to ask like one final thing. If you could just say one thing that I like, that you would like to see a change in, or that you would want to change in when it comes to, I guess, the crossover between fashion and the gospel.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think something I was thinking about is that so many times we defined ourselves, you know, by like fashion and how we look. And then God as well speaks a lot to me through like quotes. And then like one quote that God gave me was really like, fashion like shouldn't speak on behalf of our identity, but more so on behalf of our like personality, you know, like. That's cool. So, and to just take the aspect like God created me amazing, you know, beautiful and fearfully. That's what he speaks over me. That's my identity, you know. For sure, there's like a way that I express my personality and like being vibrant and different colors, you know. But just to really like be assured like of who I am, you know, and be secure in that, you know, because God is the one that speaks over you. You know, he brought life to you. He is the creator. He knows you best. And I think just that aspect of like, don't really let yourself be defined by that, you know, like just that's really, have that aspect really more like clear for the church. Yeah.
Awesome.
I think that point that you were saying about judging, that we're the first ones to do it, I think it's something that I would love to like change as well. And also as Christians, like to not look at someone and say, oh, this person is too far, or like this person, because they dress well, they are able to go to the altar and be better, or like because this person maybe don't have the best resources to dress well, we're like, oh, they're like the homeless one, or like the disgusting one. I think we label, as you were saying, a lot people like that, and I think so. It's something that I want to grow in, and I think it's something that everyone should like grow into. And not because this person dresses better, like it means that they're good. Maybe they're suffering more than the person that's like so has less, for example.
I think we put an overwhelming value on the way that we look, and even like on clothing in general. I think like brands and like how clothes can become so popular nowadays can really like skew our perspective so much that we become so obsessive over having certain things or looking a certain way. And then we can get so like, we can lose focus on our identity.
So true.
But really bringing that aspect of the gospel and understanding that actually our identity is in the cross, is in the character of Jesus. And at the end of the day, like, of course, I love fashion and I love to express myself. I love being creative. But my identity doesn't lie in the shoes that I'm wearing or the shirt that I'm wearing. My identity doesn't lie in even my appearance if my hair is not done that day, you know, because it's like you were saying, we like believe in what God speaks over us and we trust in who he is, that is enough for us. But because it is enough, then we get to actually move in a way that you know, in relationship with him, that like we can actually really admire fashion for the way like God can use it in, you know, and what he can do in that area and how he can use creativity in different areas or like art forms, as I said before. And I think for me, that's really special. And that's where like, identity in the gospel, but also in fashion can like coincide, you know, they can come together. But I think it's really that heart of not losing sight of who God is, and not putting so much value on the things that you own or even the way that you look, you know, and I think we can just get so lost in that. I mean, me included, and it's something that we need to be reminded of a lot.
Yeah, it's true. Well, ladies, thank you so much for joining us for this episode.
Thanks for having us.
It was great. And I hope everybody who listened that this was something that you were able to take something away from. But also, I challenge you, actually, and challenge yourself to go and compliment somebody and come outside of yourself today, maybe this week or something, and spread a little bit of love to someone. And maybe you feel the love too. Just like we did this evening. So thank you once again for listening.
You look great. You look great. You also look great. You look great. You look great.
So thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.